Okay, now I've got my sketch lightly pencil sketched in of my still life. I took a picture of my still life just so you could see it. You can work from your setup, or you can take a picture and print it. It's probably easier just to look at it. I've got my watercolors here. I'm probably gonna be able to use just the brush that came with it. Got some water. I'm gonna start with some of my darker colors. And we'll mix up some brown here to use. Gonna use that on the turtle shell. It needs to be a little darker. Can I go around the room? I got some dark lines there. Okay, I kind of outlined the shell. Those are the darkest browns. I'm gonna do some of the stems in the vase now in brown. The more you do this, the steadier you will be. I know watercolor is a little tricky. I like to do the darker colors first. Okay, I'm going to let some of this dry. Okay, I'm going to put in some of the blue areas now. I'm going to mix blue and green to make the kind of aqua color. I'm just going to repeat this pattern on the napkin. I'm going to block in some area around the still life to show where the table is. Okay, here's part of the background put in with watercolor. I'm going to mix a little bit of yellow and brown for the turtle shell. I'm going to just go over the line that I've already put in there. Gonna mix more blue for the stone. It's darker, but I might have to come over it with some gray. Gonna mix a little black and green for the vase area. There's a reflection in the vase, so I'm gonna leave that there. The bottom of the vase is a lighter color, so I'm just going to dilute the green. Make it a lighter color. There's a shadow under the napkin. I'm going to put that in with gray. I'm going to put in these shadows on the napkin and around the vase with gray. It's bleeding a little bit around there, but that's okay because it's a shadow and it looks right. Okay, I wiped out my mixing area because I'm going to mix up some red now. These flowers up here are reddish purple, and the highlight is a little red. Okay, I'm just going to dab in some of these flowers, and I'm going to add some greenery in a minute. Okay, I got the flowers done. Okay, I'm going to mix up some green for some greenery detail. I think I need a little brown in the color. Make it more olive green. Okay, I'm just going to keep filling in with more greenery like that. Okay, I'm going to add some reddish highlights right here. I'm going to mix that up. The other colors are dry before I do this, so they don't bleed too much. Sometimes you want it to bleed, but in this case, I don't. Okay, now I'm going to add some yellow highlights here. And it's still wet, so it will bleed a little bit to help it look like the highlight. And I'm going to add some darker green to the vase because it is dark at the top. Going to add a little brown to my green. Now I'm going to add a little purple to the flowers because they are reddish purple. And I'm layering the purple over the dry red color. So when you layer the colors, it just makes objects look more 3D. Okay, I'm going to add some more brown lines to the turtle shell. Okay, I added lines to the turtle shell, and I'm going to add a little more color to the napkin area here. And then I think I'm going to be ready to use a fine point Sharpie on it. Adding these outlines to the motifs to make it look like the napkin. Okay, I think I need to add some more greenery up here. I'm going to work on that. Okay, I've added more greenery up here. Okay, I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to take a very fine point Sharpie and add some detail. You could also use a drawing pencil. So what you're doing is learning to see and then recreate it in watercolor, recreate what you see. So when I look at my still life, I need some dark areas. In here, I think maybe a little shading on the shell too. So I'm going to go back and do that. I'm going to use gray this time for shading, which is watered down black. Mix that up, and don't forget to clean your mixing tray quite often, just with a paper towel or something. Gonna add a shadow over here on the shell. Gonna add more shading in the flower area. This time it's gray instead of brown. And this has all been allowed to dry. Maybe a little more on the stone. Okay, this is what my still life painting looks like now. Here's my picture of it. I'm pretty happy with it, but I want to add details that I can't really get in watercolor, so I'm going to use a very fine point Sharpie marker. I could go over it in watercolor if I wanted to. They're waterproof. If you use a marker, make sure it's very fine. You can also use a drawing pencil for this, but I'm just going to add in some detail, like to the flowers, and I'm going to go around the edges. And I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. Okay, here's what it looks like now. I've added some detail with fine point Sharpie. I've outlined things. I'm pretty happy with it now. I think this is good. Here's what the still life setup looked like. So I simplified the background. You can do that. And there you go.